May we not give birth to children who are going to be the cause of our death and our downfall. Ladies and gentlemen, so I want to talk about a Bolanle Austen-Peters Productions. Now, this one is titled House of Ga'a.
Ga'a! Apanilẹ́kúnjayé.
Kinupe kò ní tẹríba.
Ẹyẹ máa lọ! Ọ̀dájú.
Ẹsẹ̀ wọn bọ́ sẹ́sẹ̀ sójú.
Ìwọlé ẹṣin! Ẹ̀gbin lájànàkú! Yàgò!
This film is about greed and selfishness. That's definitely the theme, or the message you're going to get, the underneath or the underlying message. Greed and selfishness. That's going to make a man as powerful as Bashorun Ga'a to die like a chicken, to die like a goat. So there is this, in a beautiful village called Oyo Empire, there is this powerful warrior. His name is Ga'a. So they go on the battlefield with his children. I mean, he had boys, I think about 4 boys. And the younger ones, but the ones were grown up, so they were warriors, so like their father, so they were fighting beside him or alongside him, right? So they're going to the battlefield against another village. The village refused to subdue or to be subdued. Now the fight and the won, right? Okay, now this is where the problem started. He wins. There was another warrior who was assigned, like who worked with him. But he tells the warrior to go home, to go back to his community, that he will be the one to pass the message to the chief or to the king. He goes to the king, he's like, oh, this is what happened. And now the king now gives him the biggest and the most powerful title, Bashorun. So he was now called Bashorun Ga'a.
Bàbá mi fìdí múlẹ̀ gẹ́gẹ́ bí afọbajẹ àti ayọ̀ ọba nípò.
Èmi mo fi jẹ oyè Bashorun. Ọ̀pọ̀ lẹ́yìn tí wọ́n fẹ́ fẹ́ yìí ń gé mi jẹ.
Ẹ̀yin náà sì gbọ́dọ̀ tẹ̀ sí àṣẹ tèmi.
He goes back home to a very big family. He's a polygamist to the core. So many wives, a very big compound, children, grandchildren. There's just a whole lot happening there. And then everybody's happy. So because he's now the Bashorun, he was not initiated into that society or that secret court or the sect. And, he's like, there was a rule here that whatever we say is a yes. We all have to agree, no disagreement. So now there was a deal. There was an upcoming event, which was the coronation of the chief, of the king, right? He refused to say it's not going to happen. He walks away.
Àti pinnu wípé ìwọ la fi jẹ Aláàfin tuntun. Àmọ́ ó ní àwọn nǹkan kan tó lè ṣe alátakò dídé adé ọba rẹ o. Sọ tẹ́ ọ lọ́rùn àbí kò tẹ́ ọ lọ́rùn.
The first problem. They just gave you a position now. And you already becoming the threat. You're already becoming an opposition leader. What's going on with you? You're becoming recalcitrant. He goes home, he's celebrating his wins with his children. And because they've given him the most powerful position after the king, more or less like an Onowu or a prime minister, he decided to abuse. And now this is what he does. He appoints his relatives, from his sons to his younger brother. He gave them all the biggest positions, governors to the different states. Now that's another problem. Now, he gives his 4 sons, and there was one, the youngest one. I mean, he didn't know much, but he was just like, you're just going to stay with me. And then he appoints his younger brother, I think the governor of Ibadan. Now, there's another brother that he has. I think his name is Olobu, Latif. Latif is a drunkard. And Latif comes and he insults the young man, embarrasses the brother. Now, Latif will later on contribute to his downfall. Listen, big brothers, you just have to show so much love. A little bit of patience is required, you see. Even if you have this recalcitrant brother in the family, you just need to show that brother so much love. There was no need for him to have embarrassed a young man like that, you see. That's the way you're going to corner your brother. He's a drunkard. Well, that's how it is, or that's how you found him. But you have to be of help. But he would embarrass the young man, and the young man will grow up with so much grief and so much grudge, and the enemies are going to use that against him.
Ìṣòro ńlá gbáà ni Ga'a ó padà jẹ́ fún wa.
Mọ́jọ́ ògbé ní àwọn adáhunṣe tó lágbára tí wọ́n ń ṣiṣẹ́ fún ní olúwa mi.
Bashorun Ga'a ṣe dàgbà o. Ká ń yọjú ìran rẹ̀.
Àjẹdàgbà kọ́ni.
After appointing his sons and brother as governors of the different states, right, he gives the one instruction. The earnings are going to be coming to me. I'll be the one to decide what goes to the palace. Can you imagine that? How can that be possible, right? Okay, now later on you will see how he will try to subdue the king. He will tell him, you have to obey me. If you do not obey me, you are going to face my wrath. He became the most powerful and the most feared man of the community. And considering the fact that his sons were not just powerful and fearless warriors, they were all governors. So they were ruling. They were the ruling party or the ruling class. So there was nothing you could do. You could not go against them. You go against them, he kills you. Then you're going to find how a couple of elders will go to him, you know, urging him like, we have to crown our king. What is, they call it, is it Kabesi? Oh, yeah, you know, like the king, right? The ruler, the traditional ruler. We have to crown him. And he gets angry and you will find him there. So he became a tyrant to the community. Everybody became very scared of him, right? Okay, now, so his youngest son was very much in love. Oh, wait, there was a part I want to show you how greedy this man was. Now, after the king makes you the Bashorun, the biggest title in the community, you decided to bite the finger that fed you, right? But now, that's not all. In the course of that battle, remember, when they subdued and they captured their victims, right? He sent his oldest son, Olatan, to go to the community to capture all the rest of the villagers from the women, you know, bring them in as slaves. Now, when the son brings all of them as slaves, there's this particular one that his first son took interest in. And he tells the father, you know, right now, my wife is heavily pregnant. I'm going to need a woman to, you know, keep me busy at night and stuff. And so I've decided to keep this slave. The father says, no, I'll take her in. Her name is Zainab. Even the co-wives, even his wives are angry. They're disappointed. And you can see the frown in the son's face. He's not happy. How many women do you need? You can barely satisfy the ones that you do have. And you want to take another one. It will not cost you anything. So let me go with this woman. But the father, a very greedy man, who wants it all for him and nothing for the others, will say, now, my son, take this woman to my chambers.
Màá tẹ̀lé àṣẹ yín tààràtààrà, ṣùgbọ́n kì í ṣe tọkàntọkàn. Tẹ́ bá fọkàn mi, ẹ máa ṣiṣẹ́ fún.
And you will find the son, he's angry, but he was different from the younger brother. Now, let's talk about the younger brother real quick. The younger brother is still learning. He's the Benjamin of the family. Everybody's sort of protective, right? He's still very good with the swords, and he does not really like blood like that. You know, he's different. You can call him a coward if you want to. So they're still trying to teach him how to become a fearless warrior. Now, there is this princess in the village who he's very much in love with. Well, they are both in love with each other. They're going to be exchanging gifts and all, right? His dad will be like, you know what? I want to send you to go meet your brother so that he can teach you, you know, how to use the sword, how to become a better warrior. So it means the young Oyo Empire has to leave the village, right? But he doesn't want to leave behind his love. But what can you do? Before leaving for the other sister to meet his elder brother, he gives him, you know, he gives her rather a pattern gift. Like, wait for me, I love you, and they exchange kisses and all hugs and everything. Now she leaves, or he leaves rather. Months later on, he comes back only to hear that the uncle wants to take a bride. And guess who the bride is? Is that princess. He was devastated. He was hurt because he had already made his intentions clear. Like, this is a young lady I've been grooming. Everybody knows that we are very much in love. So why would you put, so he leaves, he's bearing grudges, he's very bitter. He promises to be a very good warrior. So that was enough motivation for him to be a warrior, you know, like to fight and stuff, right? Very well. So the young man leaves, he's angry. But now, you're going to find chiefs after chiefs. When the first Igwe, when Bashorun, you know, went against him, he was against his coronation, right? He finally spoke to the elders, and no, he did not speak to them. When he killed two, the others had to follow suit. The other just said, yes, Bashorun, what do you want? He said, I don't think that man is capable enough to be our ruler. We need another person. And that is how he was dethroned. He ended up committing suicide, but before he did, he placed a curse on Bashorun. Now he says that your house, there's never going to be a laughter. There's never going to be laughter. Your children will rise against you. There will never be peace in the household. And he kills himself. Now they bring in another chief. Another chief, before they crown you, he's going to give you a series of, my goodness me, there's just a whole lot. He's going to tell you, do you accept to do this? Do you accept to do this? Do you accept to do this? If you refuse this, then you move on. They're going to find another person. Now, all of them were desperate. They said, okay, no problem, Bashorun. He will tell you, okay, I'm going to take 1/3 of this. I'm going to do this. That things that are meant for the chief, like only the chief should have that right or that much power to decide. But Bashorun, because of his greed, he would take everything for himself. And it should equally be noted that he had with him a very powerful, dibia or a seer. So he had a native doctor by his side. Oh, English today now, wow. So he had a powerful native doctor by his side, right? Who would, prepare all the charms. You cannot, how dare you go against him? Are you mad? You want to die? He will kill you. So he killed about 3 chiefs. This chief will come, after a while, they were agreeing to his conditions. He gave them a lot of terms and conditions. Before you become the chief, you have to accept. Now, one comes and accepts. He later on tells the man that you have to bow down before me. The man says it's against our tradition. I am the chief. I cannot bow down. It's the other way around. He gets angry, kills the man. He sends a snake, and the snake stings this man in the sleep, and he dies. He goes around. He killed the second one, killed the third one. Now the fourth one refused. After he saw all the, the situation and the demise of the previous or the ancestors.
Látàrí èyí, ìgbà kúkúrú.
Now, after the first 3 died, the village was in need of another chief, right? Or traditional ruler. So they approached this very wealthy man in the village. By the way, he was doing well. But he was very much afraid of his life. It was like, bro, we've seen the way the others have died, my predecessors. I don't want to be killed the same way. They insisted. But before he did, he visited a couple of seers for them to fortify him because he knew what he was up against, right? Very well. So he was coronated and he became the traditional ruler. And then Bashorun Ga'a, that is, the younger brother who got married to the princess, right? Remember the princess that his youngest son was very much in love with? Yeah, that one. So it was the day of their wedding celebration. And everybody's gathered. It was a joyous moment. Everybody celebrated. And then the king says, because he's been carrying Bashorun in his heart now he tells him, this wedding ceremony is boring. Nothing much is happening. I mean, are we just going to be seated here watching young women dance and wind their waist? We need something more interesting. We're in need of entertainment. And then they asked him, what do you want? He said, I want your youngest son to fight one of my warriors. It turns out to be one of the slaves who was captured during that time when they were at war. Voila. Oh, this man is huge. And if you're a fan of Nigerian entertainment, you know this young man. He used to be the bodyguard to Kiss Daniel. I'm sure you know him, right? Voila. Anyways, so this man is huge. You see the biceps, you see the muscles, honey. You're like, what? You want my youngest? Why would you pick my youngest? I have 3 other boys. Why not? He said, nah, I want the youngest one. And the brother said, we don't want you. They refused, but he said, I'm my father's son. Lie or not the born goat, Papa, I will make you proud. Unfortunately, he was not that strong, but he fought. And their own fighting, it's fight to kill. That's it. So when the eldest brothers, when they saw the way the fight was going, they discovered that now if they don't come in, that warrior who used to be a slave is going to kill the youngest one. So one of the brothers stepped in and stabbed the warrior. Now, unfortunately, before the slave could die, he was stabbed right back. What was meant to be a joyous moment, a celebration, turned to be a funeral. Everybody was crying. I cried. I was so, listen, I am not happy with the way Ga'a is going about it, his greed and the long throat. I was not happy at him being a tyrant, but come on, no father should watch his child down like that. And then that traditional ruler, he went too far. Why would you do that? For the very first time, Ga'a cried. He cried. He mourned his son. His son was a warrior, died like a warrior, died like a chicken. He didn't even have the opportunity to fight back. Like, straight the throat. Come on. And Oyo Empire, the youngest son, he's mourning, double mourning. They just took the love of his life, and his elder brother died to the cause of trying to protect him. So he runs and says, I'm going to become a better warrior. So Bashorun Ga'a, you cannot step on his toes without him retaliating. He would deal with you squarely. And he did exactly that. He, together with his, with the seer, they come up with concoctions and stuff, and he sends an arrow, a fiery arrow at that.
Yago! Yago! Yago!
and hits that man on the chest, and he dies in his sleep. Now the village is in need of another ruler. Now, who is going to take over? They bring in the princess's father, voila, as the next traditional ruler. So now he now stays with the family. Remember that the princess is now married to Bashorun's younger brother, right? And now the father has been crowned, so everything is in the family. Now it gets even more interesting. Zainab, that slave who was captured, right? And the elders son wanted to marry her, you remember? Now she's going to have a lot of problems because she became the favorite of Bashorun Ga'a's wife, you know. And the others will not have it. I mean, even with me, bro, where you coming from? A slave yesterday, today, you are not just my mistress, you're not just my maid, honey. You are being preferred. You are the one literally sleeping with her husband every day. Well, we need to be... So there's that hatred and everything, you know, the back and forth treatment. But she got because she told the man, you can have my body, but you cannot have my heart. And the man was determined. I'm not going to touch you until the day you're going to fall in love with me. And the day finally came where all the co-wives, they ganged up against her. That they said that she's a witch because one of the wives who was pregnant, she lost her child in the course of delivery. So they blamed her for it. They said, it's your arrival that made our co-wife lose the child. So we're going to deal with you. So they beat her up to the point where they wanted to kill her. Fortunately, Bashorun Ga'a came at the right moment, and that is how she was rescued. And when she saw that this man is the only person, is the only protection in this house, if not for his timely arrival, I would have been killed. She decided to give the heart to Bashorun Ga'a, and that there's happiness in the house. Well, back and forth, but then it is what it is, right? Now, fast forwarding, the uncle who had married the young princess, right? He died, brief illness, he died, but before he died, they had a son. Now, the princess has to come back to narrate, you know, the ordeal and all. So there's mourning. The youngest son comes back. Now, he's excited, sad because the uncle died, but he's happy because an opportunity once again has presented itself for him to be able to marry the love of his life. You know how the culture is. You can still be remarried in the family. If at all there is any male who is very much interested in you, isn't it? So the young guy, the Oyo Empire, meets with the princess, they're talking, they try to rekindle their love, and he's like, I want to marry you. I don't care if you were once married to my uncle, if you guys have a son, I still love you. Do you love me? Do you want to be married to me? And she says, yes, I would love to marry you. Now he's happy. Oh, finally I have the love of my life back. And then the both of them rather, they go to the palace, they're all excited, bubbly and all. They want to introduce, like break this very beautiful news to the father, only to be shocked.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni,
báàmì, èmi àti àgbọ̀n yàrá.
Ọmọ, èmi náà nífẹ̀ẹ́. Bẹ́ẹ̀ni, èmi nífẹ̀ẹ́. Mo gbèsè lé. Kárí.
They intended to surprise people, but they were surprised. That was the day he signed his death warrant, because his youngest son will not have it. How dare you? Neither would the wives, even the Zainab, the one who just gave you a hand, man, you're telling me that everybody's pissed. And the young man was never the same again. Now, what does he do? The father at some point, because he had way too many enemies, he developed a partial stroke. Now, the seer had to find medicines, had to seek for solutions. How do I make my master regain his strength again? Now, there is a solution. A life for a life. You want a new life. You want your body parts to move again. You want to be whole again. You have to give a life in exchange. And whose life? The princess's life. Mind you, the princess has powers too. You know why? Because the father was crowned the traditional ruler. Remember, right? That one. Now, the princess dies. Oh. Or you may process it's a lie. That the news went round the village. It spread like wildfire, and everybody knew. Bashorun Ga'a sacrificed that young lady for his own betterment. And people were pissed. Even his family, they were angry because the princess was greatly loved. How dare you kill one of your wives? That is so unfair. Now, the youngest son says, no, I have to avenge the death of my love. You deprived me from the love of my life 2 times. I will not let you again. Now, he decides, when he was injured, the father's, seer, the traditional doctor, the healer, he had prepared a concoction where he gives you, where you inhale it to become lifeless, where he can do whatever he wants to do with you, and he's going to treat it all. So he took that concoction and used it. So he used it on the seer, and that is how he captured the seer. Took the seer to the forest and tied him against a tree. And that was another mistake. I was pissed. Now, it's going to, see, this film is going to give you a lot of emotions, you see. The father seer tells him, hey, I understand you're angry. I understand you're in pain. Yes, granted, you're very much in love with a young lady, with a princess. Yes, you want to, get your own pound of flesh, but this is not the right time. Your family, your father is in danger. Your enemies are conniving and they are coming for you people. I need to go back to the palace. I need to go back to the house. I need to go back to my shrine to prepare all those, to do the rituals and the charms and everything that you need for your family's protection. But the young Oyumekun would not have it. He said, you would have rather killed me than that woman. I loved her. You knew I loved her. You would have sacrificed me instead. So there is this back and forth. The seer is still trying to beg the young guy, trying to calm him down. Yes, your peace, but please, there is danger. There's danger ahead. Your family is... Before he could even, he stabbed him. Removed all his internal organs. Again, come on. I was not convincing. I've seen better intestines. I was pissed, man. Like, be careful with us, okay? Anyways, now, that is the problem. So the young man, after killing the father seer, goes back to his room, uses the same concoction, puts the concubine to sleep, and he wakes the father, who is bedridden, by the way. He has partial stroke. He taps him up and starts shouting, cursing him out and blaming him. And you understand, like he was venting and all. And the father says, calm down. It's like, you want to kill me? So because they are struggling and all, the bystanders, like the bodyguards and all, the guards that heard him, they came to the father's rescue and he was locked up. Now, the next scene, there was this celebration, they're having the family come together and all. And while they are dancing, their enemies come. Now, this is what happens. When the princess was sacrificed in exchange for the health of Bashorun Ga'a, the king, who was the father, said he will not take it. Now, remember at the start of the film, right? There was this warrior who fought alongside Bashorun Ga'a that he pushed away and said, go home, I'll be the one to tell the king how, how the battle was and all. So he was already angry, he was pissed, like, why would you do me like that? So the king approaches him one night and tells him that we have to destroy the house of Ga'a. So how do we infiltrate his house now? That was another problem. Now, this is who they used. They used Bashorun Ga'a, younger brother, who is a drunkard. Now, you remember how Bashorun would always, embarrass and humiliate him, how he would belittle him in front of his family, in front of children. He made him feel like a nobody. He was angry and said, I'm going to take my own pound of flesh. So while they were celebrating, he went into the room and took what was meant to be like their guard. You understand? Like their protection. He took it away. I think it was a helmet or something. He passes through the window. And after he has secured that charm, he now indicates to the rest of the soldiers who were standing by. They were just waiting for him to, give them that signal. And then he signaled them and they all roared into the building. I was pissed because they came in at the right time when, the Bashorun family were all dancing, music, they were drumming and all. So there was no way they could. Oh, my God. The film never heard me so. I was, oh, my goodness me. Imagine an entire generation being wiped out from the surface of the earth because of one young man. Because, come on, there are other women. Granted, what your father did was not proper. He shouldn't have taken. But there are other women. There are other women. This young boy, I was so pained. Like, are you kidding me? Your father is telling you that there's danger lurking. There's danger ahead. Your enemies have conspired. They're coming. It was not enough to just make you put your anger aside and just forgive your father, even if it's temporarily until you. Now, because of that carelessness, because he could not contain his emotion, it will cause the life of his entire family. Now, they will overpower them. Remember, they're in a gathering, they're feasting, so they are not well prepared. Now, the elder son, or Loyatan, he rushes to the room to go pick, you know, the helmet and all. That's when he realized that, oh, our protection is gone. The women, they tried fighting for their lives, but they got overpowered. Now, you remember Zainab, the slave girl, huh? The one who had given the heart to Bashorun. No, she became the Judas Iscariot. No, she was more like, she was Peter. She denied Jesus. She denied him. And I said, oh, I'm not a wife. I was a slave. I was brought here as a slave and I've been forced to. I'm not part of this family. And that's how she was rescued. Well, they captured her as a slave, but then she was rescued. You know, they didn't kill her. They spared her life.
Àjẹtápá. Wọ́n kọ́ níyàwó rẹ̀.
Rárá, mi ń ṣẹ̀bi wọn. Ẹrú lásán ni mí.
Ọ̀yájọ́.
Now, the other thing that spared the life of the youngest, who, by the way, was the cause of this problem, is because he was locked up. You remember when he tried killing the father, right? And the guards came for his rescue. They came to his rescue, rather. He was captured and locked up, right? So that for him to calm down. So he managed to escape. Because with all the chaos, people running, people fighting and all, you know, they didn't see him. So he climbed on a horse. But unfortunately for him, he was stabbed. One of the guards saw him and they shot him an arrow. But before, you know, he could die, he got to his destination and he was rescued. But what? At the expense of what exactly? Your own mother was there. Your brothers were there. Your sisters were there. Your stepmothers were there. Your family were there. Because of what? Love? You have to be rational. You get me? Now the entire family died. They captured the father and his right hand man, the bodyguard. Now, after all the verdict, after all the verdicts and all, they were dragged to the village square where they were burnt alive. May we not give birth to children who are going to be the cause of our downfall. You understand me? Yeah, everybody wants to give birth. Maybe over the years, we've seen how children have been the cause of the failures of their family. Because they will not content themselves. Because they will not consider. They will not be considerate. Now, what's it say? Yoruba to take no shele. What's happened? I was pleased. Now, this young man, he was fortunate because he got rescued and his name was changed from Oyumekon to something. And that was the end of the film. And hey, no. Like I said, the plan was to wipe out the entire family of Ga'a. Now remember that his youngest brother, who was the drunkard who had betrayed him, right? He was excited, and here the princess had given birth to a son, the young prince, voila. So he had taken the prince to meet the king, where his elder brother Bashorun Ga'a was dragged to. You see, and the brother was like, "You betrayed me," and before his brother's very own eyes, he was stabbed. And the brother was not surprised. What were you thinking? You betray me, and I'll keep you alive? You are a potential threat. Granted, you are a drunkard. But I mean, look at what you did. You were able to bring me to my knees, right? So someday, when you are sober, more calmer, you will be able to gather an army to fight the king. And they cannot let you live. So he was stabbed at the back and he died. And that's how the brother was dragged to the village square and was burnt alive. Now, the young prince was rescued. I mean, his grandfather is the king, right? So they couldn't do anything. So the father took him and raised him. So in a way, he is, according to that, because they don't know that the youngest son survived the sword, right? Or the arrow, rather. So to them, he is the only relative, the only living relative of the Ga'a. Because granted, the grandfather is alive, but he is still from the household of the Ga'a. He is the son to Bashorun Ga'a's younger brother, the governor of Ibadan. So do you think this film is going to have like a part 2? Would that boy grow up to hear how his grandfather was slaughtered? Or do you think that's the end of it? Now let's talk about the youngest who was rescued, the Yumekon, whose name was later on changed. Now, do you think somebody's going to feel guilty and want to avenge the death of his entire family, or the massacre? That's not the death, the massacre of his entire family. Well, I don't know if there's going to be season 2 or there's going to be part 2. Now, in terms of the rating, for a film that is set for 100 years ago, I was expecting, you have to show me that. When you look at them, they look modern, honey, from the costume. So I have a problem with the costume. Yeah. The costume, the beads, the tattoos and everything is so recent. I have a problem. And then in terms of the cinematography, honey, the mood, the lighting, You know, even the scoring, yeah, it was good, but you could really see that this is not, it's not a reflection of the, you know, the 19th centuries, or it's not reflecting that. You are supposed to make it more better, especially with the lighting. Now, the lighting will be able to set the mood. And then if you talk in terms of the aesthetics, even the things that were used, come on, I don't think our forefathers were that civilized, you know that, right? You are not that civilized, you see? And then you talk in terms of the makeup, like, everything was wrong with the makeup, to be honest. Especially the ones that are meant to be special effect. If you look at the wounds, it's not wounding. Even the slave girl who was later married into the family, Zainab, or you look at her boobs, come on. Those titties are fake. Nobody needs to tell me that. You're not seeing pores. We have to see at least one or two hairs trying to, there's nothing there, just plain like that. Whose breast looks like that? Not yours, and definitely not mine, honey. You men, you've seen a lot of breasts. You can't tell me that you've seen anything like that, right? So it looks really fake. No, normally films, that's supposed to be a made-believe, right? You're telling the story, make me believe that this actually happened. So for the makeup is a no-no. A lot of things were really lacking. So, but the story is a good one. You know, it gave me a lot of emotions. As for their performances, beautiful. They all came, they gave in their A game. You know, I loved it. And so I'm going to rate this film. I'm going to give it a 4 on 10. Yes, because there was so much to be desired. It's one thing to have a good script, another thing to bring it to life. Like I said, if the setting is meant to be like 100 years ago, you know, several centuries ago, the cinematography, the aesthetics, everything should give me that, right? The story is telling me something else, but the visuals is another thing. So it was a pro representation of it. However, I love the film, regardless of it all. I love the film. I'm really hoping that there should be like a part 2, but if not, this is a beautiful film. You should not be greedy. Come on, learn to share. And children, sometimes put your anger aside. You should never allow your anger outweigh your love for your family to the point where you give room for outsiders to hurt your family. You understand? Be angry at your brother, but never you connive with a stranger to harm your brother. He said, I got vexed with you, but hey, stranger, come inside, I will deal with you. I will forget about my pain and deal with you mentally, then I carry on with my... Are you understanding? So that's just the take-home message. You just, greed, no. If the father weren't greedy, if he had shared, if he had loved his sons more, and if he were more considerate and contented, the household of Ga'a wouldn't have brought to their knees. This is my verdict. Now, I am Chema. I am the darling. Let me take in the comment section. Have you watched the film? Yes or no? What do you make of the film? Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about The House of Ga'a, a Bolanle Austen-Peters Productions. Bye.